Big news this week, of course, Mikko Koskinen was signed by the Oilers, free agent goaltender from the KHL via Finland, where he's from. I wrote down my questions here. What do you guys think of it?
I think it's a reach myself. He seems like a nice guy on the phone when I talk to him.
Well, he has a long reach. He's 6'7".
I know. That's the way the off-season's going. You're all excited about the backup goaltender.
Right.
Not Cam Talbot, the starting goalie. I think I'd be more concerned with Cam getting back to the way Cam can play than the backup goalie. But it's a lot of money for a backup goalie, $2.5 million, when normally they bring in a backup goalie for $1 million. But they must think this Koskinen can push Cam a little bit and play 20 to 25 games. And the only guy in the city that wants to play all 82 is Cam, and the coaches don't want him playing all that many. So they got to find somebody that can. I think they got to find somebody that can play for 3 weeks in a row. If say Cam Talbot got hurt, and it wouldn't be a large drop off. Last year, Brissois tried, and they didn't feel that he was up to the task, and they didn't win a lot of games.
Yeah, I think if you're paying $2.5 million for a backup goalie, I think this is kind of a loud and clear signal that they're thinking he might be more than a backup goalie, that he is basically auditioning for, Cam Talbot's job. If Cam Talbot stumbles next year, they're looking for somebody who can take that position. It's like hiring the assistant coach who is a former head coach, looking over the guy's shoulder the whole time. If you're paying $2.5 million for a backup, I think the Oilers are saying to the backup and to Cam Talbot, you need to get back to the Cam Talbot of old, because we have a guy here that we hope can be the starter for this team, and then everything will fall out next summer. Once everything plays out. But it's not just if they brought him in strictly to be a backup, play 18 to 20 games. It's a pretty gross overpayment, and this team's history with goalies is frankly just not good. Like I have a list here. I compiled this yesterday. Or
You knew I was going to ask this
question. I
question.
knew they were going. Here are the goalies that the Oilers have guessed wrong on since 2007. Matthew Garon, Jeff Delorier, Martin Gerber, Yan Denis, Victor Fast, Jason LaBarbera, Ilya Brizgalov, Lauren Brossoit, Richard Backman, Jonas Gustafsson, Al Montoya, Nikolai Habibulin, and they sent away Devin Dubnyk and Anders Nielsen. So the organization's history when it comes to goalies is a little spotty. So them paying $2.5 million for an unproven KHLer is a bit of a red flag. Maybe they're right this time. It's been a different regime, but a lot of the pro scouts are still the same. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it's a risky move for a team that's already up against the cap.
Well, they're up against. The question I have is there are going to be a few free agent NHL goalies available on July 1st.
Guys you know about.
Guys you already know about. And if Carter Hutton is probably the best of them, he might cost as much as Koskinen, to be honest. But you could sign Peter Mrazek for $1 million. He's played in the NHL for quite
proven
some time.
NHL goalie.
He's an NHL goalie. You could sign him for $1 million and save $1.5 million and use that for something else. So they must have seen something with this guy, as Rob says, to push Cam Talbot and play at least 25 games.
Yeah.
And if he plays 25 to 30 games, great. I mean, then you're not wearing out your starting goalie, and then they'll see something in him that maybe he's a starting goalie in the NHL. It's never too late. He's only 29, turning 30. He's not like he's 35.
Well, and you talked to him yesterday. I mean, he said other teams had contacted him about, obviously coming to the NHL and playing, but he didn't feel that he wanted to leave yet. So I don't know if that means anything. I mean, if he's that good, and money talks, I would think, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much he was making in the KHL or what the situation was for him wanting to stay there for such a long time if he's that good. And you were talking about the KHL too, a very defensive league.
A lot of stats look good in that.
Oh yeah,
I mean, everybody seems to have a 199 goal average and a 930 save percentage. So I'm a little leery about that. A lot of 2-1 games over there. You won't see all that many 2-1 games playing in the Western Conference, I don't think, as a goaltender. So. And he's a little apprehensive himself. He said, I haven't been in the league for a long time. I was not very good when I was here the first time. The league just overwhelmed him. I hadn't enough pro games. And one of the reasons I didn't come over was because the team I was playing on was so strong in the KHL. He's making good money. Playing with Datsuk and Kovalchuk and lots of NHL players in probably the nicest city most beautiful city in Russia, so, and a powerhouse team, so he didn't want to come over. But eventually, you can only say no so many times when teams are calling, and I think he's now sharing the goaltending with another goalie in St. Petersburg at a Ranger draft this past season. So maybe he thought next year that younger goalie would be the starter. So maybe he's coming over and giving the NHL a shot.
Yeah, it's a different league. The shot angles are different. The ice is bigger, so there's much more perimeter. The traffic in front of the net is not going to be as intense as it is in the NHL. The travel's not going to be the same. He's going to have to fight through screens, and it's a different league. Obviously, a different league, and all the best players in the world are here. So all of his numbers are being put up in a defensive league against weaker players. So there is a lot of proving to be done, and on a team that I don't know is necessarily wants to be putting itself in a position where you're auditioning people who've never played in the league before at any level.
And I think we got to get back to the fact too they've got a salary for Montoya.
Yeah.
Now that's more the owner's problem, not the team, because they can bury him in the contract and not a whole lot of his money counts against the cap. But that's $1 million that the owner spent on a goaltender who's going to be playing in Bakersfield and taking up ice time against younger goalies that you might want to develop. And he also gave up a draft choice for him. Now it's only a 4th round draft choice, but still a draft pick he gave up for a guy that you've decided after 9 games he can't play for your team. So.
Yeah, and on this list, there's a lot of players that have played well on other teams, and being goalie for the Oilers isn't always an easy job. When the team's struggling a little bit defensively, it's a hard team to be the goalie for. When everything's going great, it's much easier, as is with the case with any team. But the Oilers have some struggles in their own ends. This year was a glaring example of it, and if they don't get that stuff shored up, then he's going to be in for a real test, because it's, like I said, it's not an easy team to be the goalie for.
And for each of these goalies, Talbot, Koskinen, and Montoya, each of them have a year left on their contracts. So, it'll be interesting to see how Talbot responds, not only because of a year being left, but with Koskinen coming in. So, I would hope that if that is a spur, that would go a long way, if that's what it takes.
Goaltending is weird that way. Like, a player can work hard in the off season and get in better shape. A goalie's just a goalie. Talbot's in incredible shape. I don't know how, you're going to have to work harder. You're going to have to shore it up. Goalies do get better, but yeah, this is going to definitely, absolutely light a fire under him, which is kind of the intent.
They're paying him at a very economical $4 million now for a starting goalie in the league, and I'm sure Cam is probably thinking too, I'm going to get back to last year's Cam Talbot, and I'm going to be making $5.5 million a year, not $4 million. And they'll sign up for probably 4 years. But if he plays like this year's Cam Talbot, then probably all bets are off. I think Cam Talbot's a pretty good goalie myself. I don't think he's in the top half dozen goalies necessarily, because they have more longevity and they're just better on better teams. But I think he's a good National Hockey League goalie. He could certainly win you lots of games.